Enter Operation Zero Tolerance.
Recently, X-Men 97 showrunner Bo DeMayo suggested a number of essential episodes to watch before watching the X-Men 97 finale, which still has 2 more episodes left to go. In the recently released 8th episode, titled Tolerance's Extinction, Part 1, we see how Bastion, the villain, laced with Sentinel powers, shakes things up with his Prime Sentinels. However, Bastion was the founder of something called Operation Zero Tolerance, an organization that wants to annihilate mutants. In fact, there was also a comic book event around the Onslaught saga, which was called Operation Zero Tolerance. Now, with Bastion arriving into the scene with full force, it is imperative that we explored what OZT is, and how exactly it was planted in the original X-Men show. Let's begin, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What's Operation Zero Tolerance and what's Bastion's role in it? X-Men 97 is turning out to be super intense in its very first season. On the one side, we've got the X-Men without Professor X, and they are pretty much struggling to take off the mess that the villains like Sinister are creating. However, there's another big show in town, and he is called Bastion, voiced by Theo James, and his army of Prime Sentinels. A pretty mysterious character in the beginning. Bastion has actually been in the shadows from the start. He provided Sentinel technology to anti-mutant groups like the Friends of Humanity, and even pushed Forge to create mutant depowering weapons, and unleashing a deadly Sentinel in Genosha, which resulted in the deaths of mutants, including Gambit. The death of Gambit pushed Rogue, and her actions led to the discovery of Operation Zero Tolerance, a government group that has been a part of the plot since the first episode. Henry Gyrich hinted at it when he spoke with Cyclops when the show started. You know, he kinda told Cyclops how tolerance was extinction and all that. Rogue uncovers OZT while tracking down Gyrich and Bolivar Trask after the Genosha tragedy. She basically wanted to hunt the bad guy down, but learned that Zero Tolerance was linked to Bastion's own Sentinel programming. Interestingly, we have seen OZT before as well. To be specific, in the event called Operation Zero Tolerance from the comics, particularly in the aftermath of the Onslaught saga. Oh, and we've explored the entire Onslaught saga in a mega 2-hour video on our comic explanation channel, Marvelous Long Reads. You may want to check it out. And now, before I get into how exactly OZT had its roots in X-Men the Animated Series, let's first understand what exactly this evil organization is. What is Operation Zero Tolerance? Well, I have already established that Bastion was an integral part of the whole thing, and he had been working for the success of OZT for quite a while. So, before the Onslaught crossover, Bastion takes his plans to the next level when he meets top officials and foreign leaders secretly in the Pentagon. He tells them that Onslaught is a danger to both humans and mutants. To address the so-called mutant problem, he introduces his project, Operation Zero Tolerance. In fact, he also ramps up efforts to escalate human-mutant tensions and speed up his zero-tolerance plan. He uses political influence with Valerie Cooper to turn X-Factor, led by Forge, into his personal mutant militia. After the Onslaught saga, many of Marvel's non-mutant superhero teams, including the Fantastic Four, some Avengers, and Bruce Banner, joined forces with Dr. Doom to stop Onslaught. They sacrificed themselves by leaping into Onslaught's energy form, which left the remaining mutants and a few non-mutants heroes like Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Doctor Strange to fight back. The X-Men attacked Onslaught directly and finally destroyed him, seemingly losing those who had jumped into his energy form. Meanwhile, Bastion was busy supporting Graydon Creed's anti-mutant campaign to further his OZT plans. Oh yeah, Creed was a presidential candidate and a vocal anti-mutant advocate. After Onslaught's defeat, Professor Xavier surrendered to the US government and was represented by Valerie Cooper. He was taken to a secret location where Bastion used his interrogation techniques on him. Shortly after Graydon Creed was killed by an energy blast, and as would have been expected, public tensions against mutants grew. This became a catalyst for Bastion to propose a plan to the government: capture as many mutants as possible to keep the country safe. Operation Zero Tolerance began with Bastion and his newly built Prime Sentinels getting the green light to move forward. He quickly captured many X-Men and even took over the X-Mansion, where he received crucial bits of intel on various mutants. In fact, there was also something called the Xavier Protocols. Much like like Batman's contingency plans. Now, these were basically a set of protocols to be used in an event that an X-Men had to be eliminated. The operation came to an end when Senator Robert Kelly had a change of heart and ordered Henry Gyrich to stop their activities. S.H.I.E.L.D. was tasked with shutting down Zero Tolerance, which ultimately led to the quick surrender of Bastion, his agents, and the Prime Sentinels. How are the comics and X-Men 97 related? You see, presumably, the most interesting event that happened both in the show and the comic was the activation of the Prime Sentinels. In the comics, a few X-Men, all led by the icy mutant Iceman, arrived at Bastion's childhood home, which basically activated the Prime Sentinel. Likewise, in the cartoon, the Summers family, that is Cable, Jean, and Cyclops, went to Bastion's childhood home, only to find his mother alone and waiting for their arrival. It seemed like she had been foretold about the arrival of the X-Men, who were to take her with them. Now, it did not take long for the old woman to turn into a Prime Sentinel. To be honest, the scene gave me similar creeps as the transformation of Bathilda Bagshot into Nagini from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. How does X-Men 97 have its Bastion roots in X-Men the Animated Series? In X-Men the Animated Series, Season 1, Episode 13, the X-Men race to rescue Senator Kelly, who's been captured by Magneto. But when they reach Magneto's hideout, they find the Sentinels have already taken him. Master Mold reveals his true intentions to Trask and Kelly by having world leaders kidnapped to implant computer brains in them. The X-Men, with some intel force from Peter Gyrich, find the Sentinels' base and launch a desperate attack to save Kelly. They succeed with unexpected help from Trask and Magneto. Now, before Tolerance is Extinction Part 1 came out, Bo DeMaio, the former creator of X-Men 97, tweeted a list of episodes from X-Men the Animated Series that paved the way for Operation Zero Tolerance. The key episodes he suggested were Season 1 finale, The Final Decision, and the two-part Season 4 story, One Man's Worth. Bastion's origin traces back to when Nimrod and a rebuilt Master Mold were thrown through this mysterious gate called the Siege Perilous Gate, which merged into one being that became the first Prime Sentinel. In Tolerance is Extinction Part 1, they didn't wish to go into all of that and kinda simplified it by showing that a part of Nimrod infected Bastion's father, giving him Prime Sentinel abilities from birth. So yeah, if you're liking X-Men 97, you should definitely check out these episodes before the finale. One Man's Worth Part 1, Sanctuary Part 1 and 2, Descent, and The Final Decision. Also, if you want us to explore the Zero Tolerance events from the comics, do let us know in the comments. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!